You're listening to Bill Scott's Cape Leeuwin Diary. This is part 3.
Monday, June 27th. There are so many impressions in so short a time that I hardly know where to begin. At the beginning is where one begins, so we start about 7 a.m. at Goods Island lead light, which we recharged. This is an awkward one. The launch brings the cylinders up to a beach of boulders under a sparsely timbered rocky hillside. Then we attached a line to each full cylinder in turn and gallop and stagger and heave over and among the boulders for 20 or 30 yards uphill. Luckily it needs only 8 for a charge, yet it took 2 hours to get the empties out and loaded, and the full cylinders unloaded and fitted into place. Goods light station, a manned light, is high on the ridge of the hill.
Spread far below is the rip of the tideway. Above us the lamp house on top of the peak. Below us the flying fox stretches its wires. We sweat in the sunlight, too breathless to speak.
At 1100 hours they sailed for Thursday Island, which is a close-set group of 8 small islets. They anchored in the channel for lunch, dropped the Carpentaria lightship at anchor, and tied alongside the old naval wharf at 1300 hours. They then worked cargo until 3:30 in the afternoon.
The luggers are a delight, at moorings or under sail in the harbour, which is almost completely landlocked by islands. After dark, things are much improved. The harsh outlines of rocky spurs soften. Lights blink and there is usually someone singing. Even the songs of Tex Morton and the Sheik of Scrubby Creek can be pleasant over the water, softly in a dark chorus of voices.
To the north of Lizard Island and to the south of Iron Range, in my dreams I am returning to the place where I would be, to the laughing Torres Straitsmen singing softly in the twilight, to the Trocus luggers anchorage in Princess Charlotte Bay.
Friday, July the 1st. At about 3:30 in the morning they anchored at Goods Island and the Duck went off loaded with stores and people. Owing to a very nasty reef and powerful tide rips, they had a very difficult passage to the beach.
When we did land, things weren't much improved because the road runs in 2 directions, up and down. Eventually we arrived at the lighthouse, which is a one-man station commanding a magnificent view of the whole Thursday Island group. We offloaded, loaded an ancient Model A Ford into the back of the Duck, returned aboard and steamed up to Thursday Island's main wharf. Here we offloaded cargo, took more aboard, picked up 3 p.m. I went to see Drainies for tea, yarned until midnight and then returned aboard to answer mail. The bloke with the midnight to 7 o'clock watch wasn't feeling too good. It was a very common complaint that night. I worked his watch for him. The last revellers returned aboard at 5:30.
Saturday, July the 2nd. They sailed at 0700 hours to replace a flashing buoy off Goods Island.
The buoy weighed 7 tons. There was much commotion on the forecastle, but I was sleeping through it all. In the afternoon, we charged Hammond Rock Light, a most unremarkable knob of granite.
Sunday, July the 3rd. They steamed to Cape York to attend a faulty light and just before midday headed to Wyverne Reef for an inspection.
When the Duck took the inspecting party away, the rest of us turned to on the forecastle to rig the buoy we recovered on Saturday. We stowed it in the lower hold and unrigged the heavy lifting gear used to hoist it on board. It was a solid day's toil, but all is snug down now. We are plunging through heavy head seas towards Cairn Cross. We're due there at 2200 hours. Tomorrow we give it yet another coat of paint.
Wednesday, July the 6th. The Cape Leeuwin arrived at Piper at 1300 hours. The light is out of sight of the anchorage on the far side of a thickly wooded hill. Strictly speaking, Piper is not an island, as the reef joins the mainland at neap tides. A neap tide is a period of moderate tides when the sun and moon are at right angles to each other.
The coast is particularly barren and forbidding just here. Miles and miles of half-overgrown white sandhills, interspersed with wild craggy hills and sparse eucalypts and spindly wattle. A dreary, desolate prospect. My log keeping has slipped considerably, mainly because of my preoccupation. In Cairn Cross on Monday, there was nothing of any importance to report. The duck went ashore and the boys gave it the regulation coat of paint. I remained aboard. Yesterday, we were at Hannibal Reef, a very extensive formation completely covered at half tide. The duck went off early, anticipating a quick job, but things were in such a bad state that we stayed there all day, last night, and for 2 hours this morning. Hannibal is 2 low woody islets, joined by a reef exposed at low water. The light was on the larger of the 2 islets.
Sunday, July the 10th. The Cape Leeuwin was due to meet the Elsana in a week's time and to be in Cairns by July the 19th.
Yesterday, we charged Restoration Rock. It's off Portland Roads, so that'll give you some idea of our whereabouts. Roughly 300 miles north of Cairns at the moment. The boys are beginning to strain upon the start now. I too will be delighted to get home, but I'm not making myself miserable as so many of the boys are. We are anchored beside another tower on a patch of coral, miles from nowhere. The gang has been ashore all day, painting between howling rain squalls. Ironic to hear the forecast, scattered showers in the middle of one. To hear seas moderate to slight and see the launch standing on its back end 1 minute and on its bows the next. Or winds southwesterly 20 to 25 knots, with the squalls coming over to nearly blow your hair out.
Blow, wind, blow, blow, wind, blow. The wind is in the sky, sails blow, wind, blow.
Monday, July 11th. I've been woodpeckering away all day on the forecastle head, chipping rust off the bulwarks with a chipping hammer. It gave me plenty of time to think. Today I've been thinking about the people of the world, and what a lot of them there are. All of them so important to themselves. Unhappiness can shadow out all the beautiful things if you let it, whereas the beauties are there all the time, though most folk don't seem to see them at all unless in the grip of some happy emotion. I suppose one job for a poet is to try to awaken or reawaken that sense of wonder and humility before beauty, which most people feel when they first fall in love.
When I was a young man I followed the sea, cold, wet and shivering often I'd be, rocked in the crow's nest or rolled down below, or sweating me soul out where the Gulf traders go. But it's way, hey, lift it along. What good is your life if it isn't a song?
The Cape Leeuwin was requisitioned for service with the Royal Australian Navy from the Queensland Department of Commerce in October 1941 and commissioned into the Navy on the 27th of August 1943. From August 1943, Cape Leeuwin was used to lay buoys and service lights along the coast of Queensland and in the southwest Pacific. She laid buoys and beacons between Milne Bay and Hollandia in New Guinea. From late 1944, Cape Leeuwin served in the Philippines campaign, establishing navigation aids at Leyte, Mindoro, Subic Bay and Manila. As part of these operations, she was the first Australian ship to enter Manila Bay after the Battle of Manila. In July 1945, she and the HMAS Hawkesbury established lighthouses in the Moluccas, which reopened a route between Darwin and Morotai. Cape Leeuwin was decommissioned from the RAN and returned to her owners on the 12th of December 1945. She continued in Australian service until 1963, when she was paid off and sold to a company in Asia which named her Ruby. So safe we ran to Moreton Bay, safe in by Cowan Light, then west again toward the Pile, to see the river's greeting smiles. The channel markers bright, the channel markers bright.
You have been listening to the Cape Leeuwin Diary, a record of working life aboard the Commonwealth Lighthouse vessel Cape Leeuwin, which served along the Queensland coast. The diary was written on board the Cape Leeuwin by Bill Scott between May and July 1955. The diary entries were read by Jordan Eilert. The narrator was Penny Davies. Songs used in this recording were written by Bill Scott and Roger Eilert. The recording was produced by Penny Davies and is a Restless Music production. This is Harry Scott, wishing you calm seas ahead. For more information, go to restlessmusic.com.au.